Oh, totally.
Business to yourself.
Totally.
So
But we had to prize it out of them. There's a couple of people up at the back. I don't know if somebody should be in control of who asks questions next, but there's a couple of people up near the back.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi.
Yeah, for me, I really enjoyed it in terms of the ethnicities of the women and the range of stories that they had. It also brought back memories that I had forgotten as a child. So, you know, they talked about the Brunswick dispute. My mum was on strike as well. She came out and was on strike at that time. And also just the little intricacies, you know, the parties as well. And we were always at someone's house in that sense of family. That was really good. My mum was a nurse anyway, so all of that, all of those.
I remember at the parties, I don't know if you have a similar memory, we would be involved in the parties as children, and then we'd be sort of told to clear off at some point, and we'd all just sit on the stairs and look through the banisters at all the people dancing. And I remember at a party at my Auntie Amy's house once, somebody was dancing, all were very drunk, I'm not sure, but they managed to break the toilet, they put their foot through the toilet, and I always have that memory. It's crazy. Yes?
I learned a lot of new things that I didn't expect to learn from this movie. So what did you learn from making this movie that you didn't know from before?
You know, so much. It was really interesting. Firstly, doing the research of the timeline of the things that happened when they, during that period, you know, when they first all came over. Even the fact that, you know, we were led to believe that there was this onslaught of people from around the world. But it's when you learn that they were asked to come. They were asked to come and rebuild Britain, and that they were all British citizens. So it was, Damian always says, it wasn't really a migration, it was a relocation. Because certainly the people from the Caribbean saw themselves as British, they saw the Queen as their Queen, and so they were just coming to help the mother country. And then some of the issues that they had to deal with, or most of the issues they had to deal with when they were here, was a shock to them. The other thing there was loads of things that I learned, but one thing I didn't realise was how highly educated people were. And yet they had to come here and work on the buses or work on the trains, but they had an education way beyond the education that most British people, or people in England were having at the time.
That's probably what contributed to the hostility as well.
Yeah, they were so highly educated. You know, the fact they were going to finishing schools and, you know, completing the curriculum and doing the Cambridge exams and things when they were back there.
I actually don't have a question. I just want to say I hope you enjoy making this as much as we enjoy receiving it. It's just so beautiful. Our story is so intertwined and interconnected that I can listen to them and it's just beaming because I know exactly what they're talking about. It's bringing me back to my childhood. You know, we used to lie on the floor and the parents on the bed, and they're telling us all about, you know, Grenada, where my parents came from. And we would be listening intensely, but to laugh at them.
Yeah.
Because we were really like, you know, but as you've gotten older, the appreciation is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And what I tend to do is when I'm with an elder, I will start taping.
Yeah.
Because they come to life when they're telling you the stories,
Yeah.
and they are just priceless, absolutely priceless. We have something that most people don't have, and that is that we keep leaving our homelands and going somewhere else, creating a life, and then leaving that again, going, you know, it's just amazing. I even think about the people the loved ones who left behind, and what their stories are about, because we were ripped from them as well.
Yeah.
There's another story there that we told as well.
Well, the barrel church.
I mean, that's also the reason for making the film, because you know, we made this film. It started off as a short film, and then we developed it into a feature length. Around 2020, COVID, we were losing a lot of our elders, and it was you know, preserving those stories. I mean, it's in the African tradition of the griots, passing the stories down in Sankofa. You know, you can't move on until you know where you came from. You know, and that was, you know, we wanted to preserve that slice, a little bit of slice, because, you know, then we pass those stories on, you know, to our daughters, our children, you know, and that's why when Noella said, you know, at first the reluctance to talk, sticking the camera in front of them, but then as soon as they were off, it was like, all right, you know, so really, really important.
Something that we did with all the women was their interviews were really long, especially Maggie's, because her, you know, she's hilarious. We gave each of the families their full interview, so that each family could have all of those amazing stories and memories forever. Okay. Very honoured to have you in our presence, sir.
Thank you for the film. It's warm, it's historical, it's anthropological, it is just a tremendous piece of work.
Thank you.
But I want to give you a gold medal for one thing. Not only the quality of that film, but because you managed to do it, those elders managed to tell their stories without once, thank God, mentioning Windrush. It's refreshing, I have to tell you. My sister went to St. Joseph's Convent, round about the same time actually. I went to Presentation College, which is just above the convent.
Yeah.
And what, your aunt?
So Aileen is my aunt. Sheila from Grenada,
Right.
the convent is
so what
Damian's
Sheila
mum.
was saying about the nuns, I could say equally about the brothers.
I'm sure.
There was some vicious and it's interesting how you revisit that and relate it to what you then went on to do, so that you can put in perspective the fact that you did not allow that to define you or constrain you. But as I watched it, I remembered something else. I mean, one of the women was talking about going to these parties and climbing over the fence.
That was my mum.
So I have my own story to tell about that. I came here to do theology in 1964 at the age of 19. I was in Oxford, and I was also a monk, a friar, black friar. And I found it pretty grim, I have to tell you. And one of the things that kept me sane was going out, and I did it regularly, I must say. going out into different parts of Oxford, to nurses' homes. The Caribbean nurses worked at the Radcliffe for the Churchill Hospital, right? And I would go to these nurses' homes, and we would dance the night away to ska and blue beat. And then I would crawl back and climb over the fence to get back into the monastery at about 4 o'clock in the morning. I would sing the Gregorian chant. So I mean, at all kinds of levels, the film was really evocative and on a more serious note. But what you did is so important because so many of their grandchildren have no connection at all with that history. And they can't therefore situate themselves in the past in a manner that gives them the strength to deal with the present. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Dr. Gus, did they know that you had been out? Did they catch you?
Oh no, they never did catch me. Once they nearly did.
On the grapevine?
Once they nearly did because the car ran out of gas in the middle of the lane. When I was pushing it back so that I And they kept, as I said, they kept me saying, those dances in the nurses' homes were out of this world.
Thank you very much for sharing your family members. It really resonated with me. My mum is 88, she's got dementia, and so I came tonight to kind of borrow your elders in lieu of mine. Did you ever have the conversation, or in the long interviews that you were doing, did you ever have the conversation whereby today, what's happening today is reminiscent of what happened when they came over? Because it was Enoch Powell that did the actual recruitment, right? And then he went on talking about River Blood and everything like that. And unfortunately, we're living in a time where the good old days, the sentiments, the good old days are coming back around. Did they give you any advice as to how to, or for us, how to kind of navigate that?
We're ready for that.
Because we're not as resilient as they were.
And I think the other big difference was the sense of community, because they did have this incredible sense of community. Like my aunt said there, we didn't go to the pub. There's a reason they didn't go to the pub. There's a reason they had house parties, and it was that sort of sense of community. I think it was interesting what, say for example, my mother-in-law Sheila said. She said, there's this thing called prayer. She talks about that, and we're not religious. She was a staunch Catholic her whole life, but it is just that sense of thinking things through and thinking about what you can do and how we can move forward. And I think Aileen said the same. She said, we've just got to keep on. We can't let this get us down. We have to move forward all the time and stand up and be a community and fight for what we want and what we believe in. And they very, very much felt that. They're all women who are in their 90s pretty much now, the ones that we've got left. And so to a degree, I think they're shielded a little bit from what's going on in the world. But they did have this sense, particularly, it's interesting that Dr. Gus is talking about grandchildren. There was this sense of the world that their grandchildren are inheriting and how they want it to be a better world. They fought so hard to make the world better for their children, and now they did feel like that's slipping away a bit for their grandchildren. So it's sort of passing the baton. Thank you. I was going to say mantle, but I'm like, that's a whole other saying. To us, to do that fight for our children, and then therefore that. But it does feel like the fight never ends. We keep on working and working to build up the community. 2 hands up, I see they did that.
So, we've got the film now. I'm just sitting here thinking, so how are we going to get even the under 40s to come and see this film?
Well, we're really lucky. Fearless had a small cinema release last year. It's been in lots of film festivals. People like these incredible supporters of independent film are really helping us move it forward. We actually took the film to Damian's old primary school, and the lady from Ireland was his dinner lady when he was at school. And we're friends, because they both went to the same church and everything. So we took Anne and the film to his old primary school to show it to the year 6s. And it was so brilliant, they really loved it. But what was amazing is every time Anne came on the screen, they all turned around and looked at her. Because they couldn't quite believe she's in the room, this woman's in the room. And that's something that we're trying to do. We've shown it to some university students and sixth form students, so that we can, and they're really engaged and really enjoyed it. So we're really trying to sort of spread the Fearless world now. Now that it's finished its cinema release, we were in consideration for the BAFTAs last year. We didn't get very far, but we were in consideration. So now we're trying to get it shown to as many people as possible. Black History Walks have been amazing on supporting Fearless. And I'm sure we'll continue to do so. And we're just doing community screenings and things like that. So if you have a group that might like to see it, please let us know. And it may be something that we can do.